We want to open this evening's program with a remembrance of Charlie himself. And I'd like to now hand the mic over to Shelly Krimsky, who was a very dear friend of Charlie's and a longtime colleague. He'll be sharing a few words with us about Charlie, along with a surprise. Shelly's remarks will be followed by a musical piece written by Doug Pett that is dedicated to Charlie and his love for jazz music and humanity. The piece will be performed by Doug Pett and Jason Yeager. Thank you so much, Shelly, Doug, and Jason, for giving voice to our collective desire to remember and honor our beloved colleague and friend. And thanks to everyone participating in this festival, which is just a small part of Charlie's ongoing legacy. Shelly?
I'm supposed to see this with the light that's here, and I'm not sure. Does anybody have any way to light this stage? Any technician? Well, that's a little bit better. Okay. In April 1974, when Charlie Weiner joined the MIT faculty, there was already something brewing in the molecular biology community. A letter appeared in Science magazine in 1973 from biologists Maxine Singer and Dieter Sohl, expressing concerns about potential hazards in the new gene splicing techniques and the unknown consequences of moving genetic material across species, such as tumor virus DNA into bacteria. After a successful 9 years at the American Institute of Physics, where Charlie interviewed some of the leading American nuclear physicists, he was ready to turn his oral history skills to work on the next major scientific revolution, genetic technology. He had a sixth sense for anticipating emerging issues in science and technology, and he was right on the mark when he applied for funding to document the recombinant DNA controversy. The Oral History Project at MIT ran from 1975 to 1979, during the peak of the recombinant DNA controversy. Charlie collected over 100 interviews, taped and transcribed. The current collection at the MIT archives are in 52 manuscript boxes with 344 audio tapes and 30 videotapes and extensive background documents. Among the 100 interviews, Nobel laureates and all the major players in the recombinant DNA, East Coast, West Coast, even in England, were people like Bob Pollack, who worked in Jim Watson's laboratory and was the first scientist to press the Amber Alert on certain gene splicing experiments. He subsequently became dean at Columbia College. Of course, Charlie also collected oral interviews with the leading biologists as well as activists and lay people who became intertwined with the issues. Science was not the science of white elites for Charlie. It was the science of all the people. In 1976, 1 year after the oral history program at MIT was launched by Charlie, something quite unexpected happened in his backyard. The mayor and city council of the city of Cambridge demanded that Harvard and MIT hold back certain recombinant DNA experiments until a citizens committee could meet and issue a report on the risks. Now, just think about this. Harvard was around well before the city of Cambridge was chartered. In addition, Harvard had probably 100 times the wealth of the city of Cambridge if they wanted to launch a legal case against the city. Well, that's not the way it happened. they followed the city's moratorium. And Charlie folded the documentation of that episode in Cambridge into the larger oral history program. I remember well the city council hearing at Cambridge City Hall on my birthday, June 26, 1976, when Maxine Singer appeared before the council as the representative of the National Institutes of Health with the newly promulgated NIH guidelines for recombinant DNA research. And Charlie was there with a new black and white video camera to document the event. Those who attended and subsequently saw the videotape can hardly forget the opening remarks of the mayor of the city of Cambridge, Alfred Vellucci, who said, "For the person who speaks, kindly give your name, address, your title, and your organization you represent. Refrain from using the alphabet. Most of us in this room are lay people. We don't understand your alphabet." Wow. That just set the tone. The videotape of the event, the Cambridge recombinant DNA hearings, has become a classic among those who study science and the public. Charlie was justifiably proud that his 30-minute black and white video was obtained by the Smithsonian Institution as part of its permanent collection and also has been available on the MIT Video Archive. We both attended the 25th anniversary of Asilomar in 2000, and Charlie wrote a historical summary of what we should have learned from the early debates on recombinant DNA. Mind you, many of the scientists who attended said, "Oh my God, the public overreacted, here we are, we shouldn't have thrown all this stuff at them," but that's not what Charlie saw. He said in his written comments, "Despite the success in improving the safety of research, the quasi-self-regulation model developed in the recombinant DNA controversy is not adequate for expressing and enforcing societal and moral limits for potential genetic engineering applications such as human cloning or human germline interventions. These potential applications are not inevitable, and they raise profound issues beyond laboratory and environmental safety and patients' rights. They occur in a context of increasing genetic determinism, pervasive commercialism, and aggressive efforts to sell genetic intervention as a cure-all for medical and even social problems. Separation of the technical issues from the ethical issues and the narrowing of ethical concerns to clinical biomedical ethics limit meaningful public involvement and obscure the larger picture." Couldn't be said more eloquently. Charlie never let his PhD or the prestige of his institutional affiliation or the stature of those he called his friends let him forget the underrepresented or silent groups in society. They were represented in his archival materials, in his oral histories. His tradition of oral history included all the voices of an issue. They were also represented in his classroom. He understood the power of popular culture in art, music, and science. He resonated to the voices of the Citizens Committee in Cambridge when they voted in their final 1997 report, and they wrote, "The controversy over recombinant DNA research involves profound philosophical issues. The social and ethical implications of genetic research must receive the broadest possible dialogue in our society." Charlie was a great lover of music, where he found a language that raised our hopes and spoke justice to power. One of the songs we recalled after the corrupted banking practices led to the financial collapse in 2008 was a song sung by Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie. Charlie hung out with Seeger for a while as a young man, a young troubadour in the West Village. And he met Woody Guthrie. As a matter of fact, somewhere in the late 1940s, Woody Guthrie gave his mimeographed 25-cent songbook to Charlie Weiner. Typewritten and decorated with Woody's cartoons, the songbook contains 10 songs, including This Land Is Your Land and Grand Coulee Dam. Charlie knew Woody well enough to report riding trains with him, though they were 19 years apart. So in a tribute to Charlie and to his acquaintance, the legendary Woody Guthrie, whose 100th, the centenary of his birth, is being celebrated this year, I will sing a few bars of the song, The Banks of Marble. The banks are made of marble. Bear with me. This is not something I do often. Traveled round this country from shore to shining shore. It really made me wonder the things I heard and saw. I saw the weary farmer plowing sod and loam. I heard the auction hammer knocking down his home. But the banks are made of marble, with a guard at every door, and the vaults are stuffed with silver that the farmer struggled for.
Thank you, Shelly. That was wonderful. So we're going to play just a tune that I wrote for Charlie. It's simply called A Tune for Charlie. And I just wanted to dedicate this to Charlie's kind of fire and passion for really always wanting to shake things up a little bit, and his real ability to speak culturally and his desire never to alienate the public from these issues that are so important to us. And to steal a joke from him that never really landed with a crowd, this festival is brought to us by the Darrell B. Mordecum Foundation, and we can hope that there will be more to come. Right? is Jason Yeager on the piano. Thank you.